And he's like, I do this because if I say it enough, then the people will not believe what you all report. It's intentional.
My headline for today's breaking story is the Harris campaign has huge plans to address the Republican efforts to challenge the 2024 election results. This in response to what Joy Reid just described as Trump's very intentional plan to undermine the voting results as his plan B. This story is fascinating to me because my newsfeed lights up each day with stories about the massive MAGA effort already in motion to challenge election rules, intimidate poll workers and voters, and ultimately challenge the results of the 2024 election if they lose. So I've been very curious to what the Democrats are doing as a countermeasure, and I have that for you today. Let's pick up this story with some great context from this very recent MSNBC roundtable discussion that explores election denialism. Watch as Michael Steele, who was once the chair of the RNC, brilliantly explain why Trump is nefariously ramping up his efforts to repeat the narrative of 2020.
Now that he's behind, the implication is they're stealing the election. So the idea that they're going to use little metrics like polling, which we know any given day it could be anywhere, right? As a basis for arguing, making the case to voters, see, they're stealing the election because I was ahead, now I'm behind, therefore something nefarious must be going on. That's how deep into this. This is all part of the 2025, Project 2025 playbook to sort of put in motion narratives that undermine our trust in our system.
And Congressman Eric Swalwell and Reid underscore the importance of a Harris plan to thwart Trump, and I'll share that in a few seconds, with their thoughts on Trump improving on his previous subversion efforts and the ongoing manipulation of those he can influence to do his bidding state by state.
He's getting better, right? I mean, he's learned from what didn't work in 2020, and he's almost setting the predicate much earlier. And so we have to really inoculate against and guard against intimidation that you're going to see of poll workers or suggestions that it's rigged to try and suppress people from even turning out. And we have to be the party that always, always, always prefers voting over violence.
You are absolutely right. He learned you got to start a little earlier. You got to say it often in terms of if you want to undermine the election. He is consistent, I would argue, in understanding how to manipulate the conversation. So the very well-meaning people who support him believe what he is saying.
The bottom line is the Republican National Committee and Trump's campaign have been preparing for an unprecedented strategy for what they call election integrity. Their plan involves deploying over 100,000 volunteers and attorneys across key swing states to observe and potentially contest various aspects of the voting process. This election cycle has already seen an unparalleled level of legal activity, with Republican-affiliated groups initiating numerous lawsuits across 25 states, making it the most contentious pre-election period in recent memory. And now for the Democrat response. The New York Times reports Harris campaign's legal team takes shape as election battles heat up. And the article reads, amid threats of certification battles and mass voter challenges, Vice President Kamala Harris's presidential campaign has assembled an expansive senior legal team that will oversee hundreds of lawyers and thousands of volunteers in a sprawling operation designed to be a bulwark against what Democrats expect to be an aggressive Republican effort to challenge voters, rules, and possibly the results of the 2024 election. The legal apparatus within the Harris campaign will oversee multiple aspects of the election program, including voter protection, recounts, and general election litigation, and it is adding Mark Elias, one of the party's top election lawyers, to focus on potential recounts. The legal group is headed by Bob Bauer, who served as personal counsel to President Biden for years, and Dana Remus, the general counsel to the 2020 Biden campaign. Mr. Remus said in a statement that the legal team has been working uninterrupted over the past 4 years, building strategic plans in key states, adding more talent and capacity, and preparing for all the possible scenarios. This year, like in 2020, we have the nation's finest lawyers at the table, ready to work together tirelessly to ensure our election will be free, fair, and secure, and to ensure that all eligible voters will be able to cast their ballots knowing their votes will be counted. With the lessons of 2020 still fresh in Democrat minds, Harris advisors claim that the legal team is about 10 times the size of the 2020 operation. The unprecedented Trump maneuvers we witnessed in 2020 and his current social signals have made it clear that we must be prepared for similar tactics in 2024. And the formation of this massive legal effort by Harris's presidential campaign is more than just a campaign strategy. It is a commitment to protecting voter rights and upholding the will of the people. By anticipating and preparing for these challenges, the Harris campaign is not only defending its own interest, but it's also safeguarding the fundamental principles of our democracy. You just might say it's an occupation of democracy.